Elaine,
Sorry.
part-time, are you a part-time nurse or a part-time? Her career actually is in nursing, which is believe, and how she has time going for numerous exhibitions. She's in all the top exhibitions, you know, and she's a part of Element 15, which have, a very, very good name in itself. So, Elaine, thank you so much for showing all your beautiful, amazing work here today. And I leave it to you. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Deirdre. Thanks, Feltmakers for asking me. I'm just feeling a bit of an imposter because I'm looking around all the people I know. Even if you're not making felt, even if you're making, you're cooking, you're baking, everything's a maker. So there's a big section of me for sure. I remember, I suppose I was talking to him about my journey, okay, because that's something else. And then I get on and I talk about where it started and kind of like what I'm interested in now. Sorry, it seems to get flasher, but that's not very good. I don't have a lot of my own stuff. I don't believe in holding. I let everything go. There's only a couple of things I hold on to. Bird is my favourite, but he doesn't look for it. I know he's very sad with it. But I have a couple of things that I mean a lot to me. So I am a nurse, and I've worked as a nurse for about 7 years. I actually will turn 60 next year, and I've been working 40 years, so I'm absolutely exhausted. That is the mix, okay? But when I was shortly after my divorce, I remember going to the States to my sister. I was very tired, but I had a rake of money in my pocket. I thought, if I spend it on something valuable that I can take back to Ireland. And I was a bit bored on the beach, so I went to Manasquan Beads. And I walked in the door and saw this amazing thing. I just thought, how did this happen? So the people are making jewellery. It's just incredible. The bead shop was just sort of spent every cent I had on beads, and I spent every day in there. And I met the most wonderful women who had class almost every day. This is an amazing place. It's not there anymore, unfortunately, blue water beads, because like everything, things move on. But I loved it. And I mean, it's difficult to follow, but I did do craft fairs because of the virus thing. You're being a maker is very hard. It's very hard to make money as a maker, and I needed to make money. I needed to pay the bills, so that wasn't a luxury afforded to me. And I would have loved to have stayed as a full-time maker, but maybe I wasn't ever meant to. I don't know. Anyway, I made jewellery and I did craft fairs twice a year with my brother in the living hall in Castlebar, and did a pottery. So both of us did a stand there. I aligned myself with Dunleary, because Dunleary have a very strong group of makers. And I had a friend who got me in there, and she was a jewellery maker and I was a jewellery maker, and we did quite a lot of craft fairs, and I made quite a bit of money. Because I was pre-Celtic Tiger, everyone was dishing out cash, and nobody questioned what I was charging. And my pieces went for between 80 and 160 per necklace, which when I think now, you think about back then, that was actually a decent amount of money for what you could get for that money then. Probably not for now, I don't know. But people were happy to pay, and I was happy to do it. But then when you're making jewellery, you're sitting like that, you're hunched over, you're in a space like that, your body's folding. Didn't suit me. I have AS, I couldn't sit for long periods. So I thought, okay, so what do I do now? And I saw Marie, my neighbour, going into the car, and she was quite animated, and she was kind of like all giddy and stuff. And I was like, where are you going? And she said, I'm going to Lucan Hall. And I said, for what? And I said, but more this plastic and soap and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, her. And she said, she was kind of on, like, reluctant to let me in on what was happening. Like this thing. And I said, what is her? I said, where are you going and what are you doing? And she said, I'm going to Lucan Hall, Feltmakers Ireland, felt making. Oh, I thought, okay, so I'm coming with you. And she was like, well, I don't know, I'm coming with you. That's it. So I and And then that was the first day, and I remember going into the hall, and I met Feltmakers Ireland, son of Richard Weir, the old amazing and that was the new committee, he looks amazing, it's nice to see him when you're facing. And it was just great. I saw Maureen Cromer laying out fibres on a table. I mean, I thought that I died and gone to heaven because she was laying out this material that, of course, sustainability is close to my heart now, but back then, that wasn't a word or a language I understood. But I just thought this is a material that is a basic material. I love materials that are basic and slightly unloved. Materials we cast aside mean a lot to me because I think it's important that we look again at everything. So I thought, okay, that's fleece and there's water and your hands and soap. I'm on it. And she made a cobweb scarf in a half an hour. Think of God, I thought, this is a miracle. I am witnessing an absolute miracle. I can't even tell you how excited I was. And I thought, no, I'm hooked. And I really was. My children were put to one side and I was like, what children? Who cares? And I was felting and it was fantastic because it was one of these things that I thought, I couldn't do it. But then I thought, maybe I can do it and maybe this is for me. And it was open. You know, I kind of felt like I was hands doing it. I could say it. I didn't need to have a studio. It was very freeing. And to make a fabric, that's a miracle. It still gets me excited to think that I can actually make a fabric and make it in 3D. I see Claire Murray here now. I mean, her work recently, she did an exhibition or she did a show and tell here. It was incredible. And it reminds me of how amazing it is. And it never stops interesting me. So I went every week as much as I could. I had other commitments, so it was hard to try and get to as much as I could. But I was a helper. I was never really a fully fledged committee person. I did help when I could. And it was amazing. And then I thought, I just learned fencing. But I remember there was a class in Kilkenny and they were Lila Ruth. I could barely pronounce her name. I was thinking, okay, that sounds very interesting. That's another interesting thing. She was doing a 3D bag, and she made these bags based on, she based it, she did bad bags, so she based it, she was her own design. And I thought, okay, I'm going to that. So I was down there with 6 felters in the small class, and poor Lida wasn't well that weekend. Here I rocked off like, fantastic, deer in the headlights, here to make the bag for the race. But then I realized I was completely out of my depth. This was a proper workshop. I'd never had a felt workshop with that standard of a tutor, and I didn't know what I was doing. And she caught on to that very quickly. So I was looking at her, everybody was doing things. I was like, okay, what am I doing now? So she said to me, okay, she's probably slightly irritated with me because, you know, you can imagine she's not coming. This is meant to be for advanced. I'm like beginners, but I was enthusiastic. So she told her, she had everybody started and then she come back to me and I laid out. So she said, you're doing a sample first, a small sample, and then you're going to choose a color. Oh no, I said, I got the color chosen, I've decided. It was Icelandic wool we were using. That meant nothing to me because I'm like, wool is wool, didn't know. And so I said, okay, no, I don't need the next sample, I said, I'm fine, I'm just gonna make bag. So I thought, okay, I've got a lot of work here. I mean, if I make the bag, it's one thing, I'm making samples, no thank you. And she said, no, you make the sample. I said, yeah, but I'd rather not make the sample because I want to get into the gargantuan amount of work of the bag. And she said, if you're making a big piece of work, you make a sample because you first off don't know what color. You think you might want a color, but you may not want the color. And then if you don't do a sample, it's okay. So did the sample reluctantly, and I realized the color I had chosen I hated. It was an off-white. I knew the bag was going to look like muck, and it wasn't going to be what I could use. So then on back and I use a colour that close to my heart, which is this colour, which is kind of that turquoise family. And I made the bag. It took me 3 days of blood, sweat and tears. I nearly died on that table. And I nearly wondered, should I not go home and just stay here all night? Because I felt everybody looked so comfortable. And when you don't know what you're doing, but I didn't clue. So every process and every stage was like, what? And I thought I was finished. At one point, Eliza said, yeah. He said, now we're going to turn it inside out, and now you have the same amount of time again. What? Like I spent a whole day laying out fiber, a whole day felting. I thought I must be close to finishing. No. So turn the bag inside out, and like she is a warrior. I really don't like her. I thought, no, I'm really not liking this whole thing. Felting is not for me. Turn the bag inside out. I wanted to take that bag and walk against the wall and start crying. It's not my 3 days off. I'm tired. I'm back to work on Monday. I'm like, seriously. And turned the bag inside out. I did it again and felt and felt and felt. Of course, there were 7 layers of fiber. I didn't understand, not being a felt maker really, that this is all time. And the process wasn't really exciting to me at that point because I didn't know what process was. So I finished that bag. I didn't look at that for about 3 weeks. I didn't much, even the word was traumatizing. And I was mortified. I had shame, kind of like everybody was so calm and collected. I was like frantic and kind of all, what am I doing? So that was fine. And then I came back into Feltmakers and I slowly got my confidence. We did lots and lots of play, which was really helpful for me because when you're a newbie, it's nice to just watch people do things and learn from watching. And we were very lucky at that point. There was a huge amount of tutors from all around the world coming. There was nearly a workshop every few months. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So I was either just watching and helping. I was allowed to do that. And or I did the workshop. And that was really fantastic. And from this session, we played, and I now know that play is where I do most of my learning, because even if I don't bring fiber or if I'm working on paint or whatever, even if I'm not really working, I feel better and more creative and I get more ideas from others. So I've always learned from others, nothing really you can't invent something. It comes from being and watching and learning, and even if you don't like what somebody's doing, you're in a creative space and that is encouraging. So even if you don't stay with the people who do, and you'll get there. So you won't get there if you're sitting at home in the kitchen, dumpy dumb, I'm useless, I'm hopeless, what am I doing now? Oh my God, will I try and make something? Oh, come on, crap. So you have to go and be in a space where there are other people. And, there aren't that many spaces for people who are trying to be creative because we're not great at it. In the UK, there's loads and loads of groups meet, they share, they work together. We don't have a lot of this here, which is terribly sad. So maybe we need to think about that, where we put small units in areas and then meet at a bigger unit. Maybe once every 3 months, but as smaller units, we should be meeting every few weeks. And if I can do nothing today but say, give creativity, give something a half an hour every day, even if you don't feel like it, even if you have pain in your hip, your back, your knee, your head, if you're emotionally drained, sit and stitch or knit or do something. Because every time you take out something, you are switching off one side of your brain and coming into the other. And I think for the likes of me and for maybe others, we've all excuses. I'm too busy, I'm too this, I'm too that. But for me, when I work, one side of my brain is on, it's like functioning, working, answering, being somebody who thinks they know something, giving information. But then the other side gets left behind. And that's really sad for me. I find it hard to manage both, so it's trying to force yourself to allow that side to meet this side. So I suppose the kind of jewellery I would have made would have been in the beginning. This I was trying to be really smart, assessing. I thought I'm so amazing. I make some jewellery. So I was doing all of this beadwork and, these spirals, which I really, really liked. And you could count 7 beads, do 7 beads, but I like that. And then I got fed up with that, and so controlling. And it's also, so, you know, you're sitting counting them. But I did enjoy making them. And then I made this for an exhibition. It was going on, it was going on a mannequin who had, in Castletown. She had a paper dress, a black dress. And I just kind of felt she needed something, because jewellery can change everything. I mean, I did believe that jewellery was the answer to all of our problems at one point. But I do think jewellery can change things. It's coming back. Jewellery went for about 5 or 6 years, and now jewellery is coming back, I have to say. But I think it's really important. I like brooches. I like modern brooches. I like fabric brooches. But because sustainability is my thing now, I'm only using dead stock and fabric that's been gifted. I used to be in Recreate. You've no idea. Even my adult sons who visit occasionally would say to me, okay, what's going on here? Like, are you moving? No, I'm just being Recreate. Check out my boxes, I'm happy. They're all there. Just walk past them. Don't look. You know, but now it's like it's a piece of plastic that isn't plastic that you find either in items around the house or other people have, take them off them and repurpose them. That's what I like. And then I suppose workshops for me, 3D was my thing. And I loved working in 3D objects. That was what really made me feel very excited. And for anybody here that isn't an experienced feltmaker, all you're doing is you're working flat, you're putting a plastic resist on top of it, you're layering on top of that, you're felting it, and then you're opening it and making it 3D. Felt is amazing. So making 3D objects always make me happy. I also am not a person who plans something and then gets to the end and nothing I've ever planned has ever worked out. So there's no surprises there. So I remember this was meant to be a wall hanging, which I hated. So I got fed up and everybody else was doing one thing. And of course I had to annoy everybody and go and I can't do it. So it ended up being a bag. And I asked, I was desperate, couldn't even think. I was so tired. We were really hungry. We were on a workshop. The heat was killing me. I was exhausted. I was really dead.
Is it this one?
And I turned around and I said to, yes.
You want to pass it around or?
No, it's fine there.
Oh.
And I said to Suzanne, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I need to put something on the bag. And Suzanne said, what about a leaping salmon or something? She mentioned salmon in some work that she had, or that's it. So leaping salmon happened. Salmon, you didn't really look at the salmon really. I mean, but it made me feel happy to kind of, I made a piece of felt and then cut it into kind of a fish and then made kind of a fin and kind of an eye and then slapped it on the bag and all of a sudden I'm happy. So, you know, you can start out doing something, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that can't be something else. So it's no big deal. Don't take it too serious. It's your hands, you're making, you decide where it goes. So you start off doing, and it ends up being a back, so what, you know? I mean, stitch in a shoulder catch if you wish to. It doesn't have to be all one piece. That luckily was all one piece. And because I made a lot of bags, I kind of understood how to transfer it into a bag. But don't take it too serious, just make it what it needs to be. On that same token, this was a wall hanging. I do tend to like wall hangings and then they go astray. So this was a wall hanging, I didn't like it. So I changed it into a piece of clothing. And I do think it's really important that you don't leave things sitting around the house. If you don't like them as what they are, don't throw them away, repurpose and remake. Just do it. This was a coat that I turned into the back and sleeves and just stitched it. So, don't be too precious, about it. It's a piece of work, but it's not, it doesn't have to be there not to be touched. It's your work, do what you want with it. So I was kind of a bit precious about felt for a long time and felt, it was this religion that you couldn't kind of like be anything but committed to. But you can actually change it and adapt it to yourself, and it does also change. I mean, Claire talks about that, in her work, she does a lot of work that I always thought, oh my God, how would I ever be able to, but Claire's adopted a technique that suits her. And I think that's important. You just adapt a technique that suits you and you go with it and you stay with it and you own it. So I suppose that's it. Now, I don't think that I would have loved felt as much as I did without the tutors. I actually think that the tutors and the other people that I worked with, so other friends that were felting, is the reason I stayed felting. I actually don't think I could have done it if I didn't go to classes, share work, go to workshops. Because otherwise, what is it? If there's no fun involved, and if there's no fun and no life and no connection to anything, it's just an object. Because and I suppose for me, I think being part of, being in a group, being with people, it all makes the purpose, it all makes the process so much nicer. And if you don't enjoy it, at the beginning when I was felting, you'd be standing at the table and everyone at a workshop be like, rolling, taking you out now, where are you? This show, or, I'd meet people like that. It was so funny that we were so serious at times. It was like stop. And I remember thinking, oh, okay. But it's the obsession. But when you leave that to one side and you haven't done it for a while, you go back into that obsession of rolling and rubbing. But for me, it's the process. If you don't enjoy the process, you will not enjoy felting, and it'll show in your work. So I hadn't done the rolling and the rubbing and I was a bit nervous that I wouldn't be able at my age to go back to a big piece. I thought, I will. So I put 2 big tables out the back, and then during COVID, I was trying to work during COVID was just so nice. So I got yellow, which I hate. I don't like yellow. I don't like working with yellow. So I thought that's the challenge. So yellow is going to be it. It's going to be yellow. And yellow and blue don't go for me. But I thought I'm putting 2 colours out. And I had loads of yellow and loads of blue in stock. So I wasn't buying anything. It was what I had in stock. So I put it all together and I made this big wall hanging. And I have to say, it was probably one of my most fun pieces I made. It took me about a week, because I decided I was going to do it quietly, slowly. I wasn't going to be forcing about it. I just took my time and I really enjoyed it. I did sell that piece at the exhibition, but it was my favourite piece because it brought me joy when I looked at it. If I'm making something and I'm in pain and anguish and I need to finish it, then I want that piece. I don't want it in my life. I need to be working on something that isn't going to cause me pain and anguish. So if you're feeling like that when you're working, just leave it to one side, come back to it, do something else, knit a jumper, make something. Do you know what I mean? Don't force yourself into a space you don't want to be in. As it'll show, and then you just get fed up and you won't want to go back to it. So workshops are the business. Every time I thought I had it and I was kind of like go on a journey, and then you do a workshop or you see somebody else working, you just made me, I think it energized me for me. High as a kite thinking, oh my God, I'd be in bed dreaming of shapes and colours and flowers, and I'm thinking, oh my God, the excitement of it, it just relaxes with me. And so I think if you can do workshops, you can stay together in groups, you can form groups and work together. That's what's really important. The only workshop, now I've never ever not enjoyed the workshop. The only workshop that was a disaster for me. Rita, I can see you in the corner of my eye and you know what I'm talking about. We had a fantastic filmmaker called Asta. And Asta, Asta organized. Asta organized, I always wanted to make fun shoes. I thought that, you know, I can make a shoe. I wanted to make proper fun shoes. That's a great idea. I was going to be, you know, a shoemaker and all the things. So the whole list came in and she was this lovely, lovely tutor from, where was the tutor from, Breda?
Somewhere Eastern Europe.
Eastern Europe, yeah. And it coincided with me putting an application for me for a mental health project I was doing at work. So that project came in at the same time as the shoe thing, and I had to get these pages, about 36 pages of the sweat started. So I had the list, I had all the stuff. I was bringing the bags up to the workshop. You know the way you come with the fiber, the soap. I got into the workshop. I did Kilteen. I love Kilteen Hall. And it's very busy. But I was running out to kind of fit in the forms. And that was the hardest work. That was like concentrate. It was like insane. I was so I can't even tell you. Rita knows. I was actually jealous at one point that Rita had too much of a relationship with the maker. She was getting far too much help. Rita was the best class. The maker kept going over to the tutor kept going over to Brita. You okay, Brita? Oh, stop over this side. Oh, we struggled. Look helpless. I'll never forget. I thought I was going to die. Anyway, the great thing was Nicola Brand, a fantastic filmmaker. She was doing a pair of boots, dark brown. They were like riding boots. I was like, oh, God, crazy. Orange, bright orange, the same kind of felt as this. I tried to hate it because it was very, very hard to use. It wouldn't come home. It just took ages and then it was felted. And I had the wrong resist. The resist that activated was like a clown shoe. It's like a round, big. Everybody else, I'm looking around and they've all got this lovely petite kind of resist. So already I'm thinking, okay, there could be a big fight here. So everybody else has a lovely toe. I'm not even got the right toe. I planned you. That's all. They don't look like brown, they're black, they're beiges, and I don't know what color. What color did you wear? And I'm thinking, I'm done. I absolutely hate this workshop. I'm trying to fill out the forms. I come back in on the last day. And the glue didn't work. We were gluing the boot onto the sole. The sole was so heavy. I thought, there's no way that piece of felt is going to hold that with that glue. And anyway, we tried the second glue. Oh, that was I'm done. Oh my God, I'm done. I'm over this. Then she said, we're going to stitch the sole onto the sticking to rubber. That's really heavy, like Wellington rubber. I'm like, she insane. There's no way we can do that. How do we do that? Now, I can suture the very best. I'm kind of good at that from work, but there's no way. Yeah, we were all sitting down, sweat peeling off us, now trying to suture. Then, just prior to that, Nicola, who was decided because she was finished, because she's a fantastic felter, she is just so strong. The rest of us were struggling. She said, I'll help people. So I was the first one she helped because I was just a rag and bone man. So she came over to me and she started to know we're having a laugh. Because she's laughing at me actually, because she said, I've never seen you so like. I said, I know, I'm done. I'm at the end of my tenure. I just want this class to be over. So she was helping me and she started helping other people. So that was all lovely. I thought, God, Nicola, you're amazing. And then she put her own boots on. She felted them so well, she couldn't get her foot into them. They were felted like a pencil. But she kept felting and talking. So she felted it. So she went beyond felting it to what she needed to. And she didn't, and what she didn't realise is she had cut down the centre. So, you know, you felt it to where you fit in, but you had to open. So she hadn't, so she had, yeah. So hers were a mess, mine was a mess. And then I looked at the clown shoe. The clown toe. and with this huge big toe. After all my felting, and I said never again. And then she talked about doing different kind of, you know, this, that, and other, but no, don't go straight into it. That's the only bit of felt that I ever threw away. I couldn't look at them because the process was so strange for me. It's not like, I've never not liked the process. And I've never not liked making. And I thought, well, that every time I looked at them, I was so stressed. So I thought, well, that's not going to work for me. I should get rid of it. And then people were like, why did you get this thing? I was like, I never even thought of it. I was so anxious to get them out of my life. I had to just dump them someplace quickly. Anyway, I've never not liked the workshop, but I think workshops are the most important thing you can possibly do. Do as many as you can. And now, of course, there's online workshops, which is fantastic. But I think the in-person, I suppose, is just the best. Because you can walk around and talk to people and you can connect to people. Workshops I loved would have been, what is it? Jeanette Sendler. Jeanette Sendler did a workshop in Collins Barracks. And she had a studio in Scotland, Cat in the Hat. And I'd met her in Italy, in Feltmakers. There was a few days, Feltmakers went to Italy and there was a meeting of Feltmakers from Europe and classes, and it was just absolutely incredibly exciting and brilliant to see all these amazing tutors all in one area teaching. And Jeanette, and then what she did was she introduced her work and she talked about what nostalgia meant to her. And then she came around to everybody and I was sitting there and she wanted to write down, you know, what we wanted to get out of the workshop. And when she came to me at a blank page, because I didn't know what to write, didn't know what to say. I couldn't access thoughts or, you know, and she kept talking to me and she got it out of me. And I made a lovely piece about my grandmother. So that's the joy and the amazing ability of a good tutor to quietly give each person 5 minutes to encourage them. And once she started talking, and I put a few words down, off I was. And that's another thing. Some people are great. If they want to make something, they'll sit and they'll draw it and they'll research and they'll write about it. And this is what you're meant to do, apparently. And I've been trying for 20 years to do that. And I've never once made anything I've ever drawn, because I can't draw. And I've never once made anything I've planned. But if that helps you, and if that kind of made who you are, that's great. Sometimes I find lots of research, lots of looking, lots of hi, not at all. Come in, see the seat. Have you got the seat? Oh, great. Put it down. And so Jeanette was an amazing kind person. Her studio at is incredible. Gladys Paulus. Gladys Paulus is another amazing artist. I went to see an exhibition of hers a few years ago. So I never went to her mask making workshop, but she came here with Feltmakers, and I was lucky enough to spend a day watching you at the work. She's an incredible artist. But we had down the line with Element 15, we had a challenge a few years ago where we were asked to do an outdoor exhibition. So after about 15 years felting, I kind of started more to look at all fibres, all materials. And I joined Element 15 and started doing a lot of workshops with regard to fibres and materials. And some of our members at the time were all in MCAD studying, and Helen really kind of was focusing more on repurposing. And then we started to think more about using fabrics we had, using materials we had, using materials around the house, not looking for a material to make. And all of a sudden that kind of spoke to me, and I thought, no, this is where I need to go. So I had an old wool jacket, a man's wool jacket. And I remember being so embarrassed because I was with all these people who were making these fabulous pieces. And I can make a piece and I can kind of come up, be of that standard. But I thought, no, the valley, I don't know if you know Jimmy Blake's, do you know Jimmy Blake?
yeah.
But in the valley, it's so incredible. And right at the base of the valley, right by the stream, I just thought, no, and Barbara said, no, we won't be, there's no point, we were doing stuff up here. So I thought, I'm going to make stuff. And then I don't want somebody to say, I don't like that. But I have this fear that I'm going to be out. Somebody's going to say, I'm sorry, she's over there. No, she can't make, so take her out. And we just continue with the marvelous group. But that was me always, so I was like, oh God. So I made crow, so bird and deer. The bird and deer, and bird is depressed, and deer, his best friend, is trying to have a conversation with him. So I thought, how am I going to have these standing in a valley? It's going to lash rain for 2 weeks. That was really the hardest thing for me. But if you want to do something, you just got to make it work. And there's always a way. So I got a brush with a wooden handle, and a couple of people I knew that were kind of, very good at making. And between everything, I got the stand, I got the stand very secure. I was able to put it into the ground. And Bird wasn't cut off from here. He did have some clothes below. So I treated the jacket with matte medium and lots of acrylics that I had. And some of my old work, I just embossed into it and stuff. And I don't know if any of you use this, but in Feltmakers, there's an artist, what is her name? Oh yeah, she was amazing. An Icelandic maker who makes pots. I based this on Anna Gunnarsdottir, yeah. And I hadn't done her workshop, but I'd been in to see her work at the workshop. And she talks a lot about using wood glue. So she mixes a 50-50 wood glue and water. And what I like about doing that, I know I'm stepping ahead for some people who are starting felt making, but for anybody who's not, it doesn't change the texture and the feel. Well, it does change the feel, but it doesn't change the texture of the fiber. But if you want to leave something outdoors, now that's a number of years old and it's fine. And I did sell one to a friend who has it outside the same length of time, and it's absolutely fine. You can make the piece and either put the wood glue and water mixture on the inside. In this case, it wasn't possible. But in this case, I put the wood glue and the water on the inside and the outside. But I made the mask that's about 7 layers of strong fiber. And he was outside for 3 weeks in the rain, as was Deer. So Deer is looking at him, and he was looking at nobody. He had his head down, and Deer was asking him. I had a sign on Deer that said, "Please be kind." And he didn't know how to be because he wasn't feeling well. So I just loved it. I thought, oh my God, how will I present this to Elaine? So they're just going to go, oh my God. But they were okay. I snuck it in. So the exhibition was cut off, and everybody was on the land. And I thought, how will I bring them? What? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I saw.
Did you see it? And I snuck it. I was kind of like, excuse me, I just went out to the valley. For what? So I don't know what's wrong with me. Sometimes when I have something I really love, I'm afraid people say, that's rubbish.
Yeah.
I don't like it. So then I hide it and oh, it's terrible. It's a part of who I am. But anyway, the girls didn't think it was a good idea to have it in the valley, and I only wanted it in the valley. It was made for the valley. So Janet went into the valley. Well, it turned out great. And Jimmy didn't want to get rid of it after 2 weeks. It stayed there for about 3 weeks. But it really felt good. Because it was a little surprise. You saw an exhibition, and then you went down into no man's land. And then here they were just in conversation with each other. And it reminded me that I love outdoor exhibitions. I love making outdoor. In fact, I probably like art outdoor more than I like indoor. So now I've gone to using wood and copper. Now problem is, because I repurpose objects now, I've said to people, you know, if you have any rusty nails or if you have a little bit of rust, Jesus Christ. I was out in Kildare recently and I ended up with the car again coming home with pieces of rust coming out. I mean, I need a yard now. I don't have in the shed. Okay, so you know you got to be careful. If you want stuff, then you're not able to manage it, and then you can make nothing because it's everywhere. So so now a Kay gifted me a service in COVID. I was afraid the only thing was going to make me stop everything. I always felt that a sewing machine was something that I'd never be able to use because it had a mind of its own. It never behaved itself. It was something that never looked after me. I always broke needles and whatever. But Kay sat me down and she taught me how to use a sewing machine. And she gave me a lesson: start, stop, go, return. Don't start doing anything else until you get that correct. And I fell in love with sewing machines. And I made like a crazy woman for about 3 years. But then I realized there's a lot of work I had that I didn't like. So as I say, I turned that into a top. I turned felt pieces I had into, I did a dressmaking course, a pattern cutting course with a hemp artist who is a professor who talks only at sustainable fashion. And I had a great day in Belfast. And she taught me pattern making. She wasn't very impressed with me. I arrived in the class never having cut a pattern because I cut from my head. And she wasn't having that. So she said, well, this is the pattern. So she maintains that you have one pattern and you adjust that pattern for everything. I'm like, what? And she said, one pattern. So she had a straight box jacket pattern. And she said, you can either make a dress from it, or you can open it wider, or you can pleat it, or whatever. That was a game changer. So she made me cut the pattern 3 times because she said I couldn't cut, and I can't. I'm very bad at cutting straight lines apparently, and she wasn't having it, but it wasn't perfect. And then she said, well, we used to do size 10s and 12s, but now looking at me, she had me as a model. I didn't ask to be a model; she just happened to beside me. But looking at Elaine, in class full of 20 people, looking at Elaine, people's sizes have gone up.
Good.
And it's very nice to point that out. So I already feel like I can cut patterns that I pointed out very clearly that I can't actually cut. And now I'm large. So she said, so now aside, we don't cut for size 12s anymore. There's no size 12s. And recent research has shown that women are getting bigger. Lovely, owning that too. And your chest size is really big. Really. So I was a bit stressed at that class too. But she's come back after it, and I have to say she was an amazing. What I learned from her was you only need very little in fashion. You just need to have one pattern that can be adjusted for lots of things. Keep it simple and keep your materials sustainable. So cotton, linen, all plant materials, and felt, of course, wool. So I'm trying to get my wardrobe that is just wool, cotton, linen, and I'm trying to reduce it and trying to if I have something that isn't those things, use them again. Don't be, don't try to be fake. So that was great for that. So
What was her name? Do you want to say her name? The tutor's name? Oh, that's sorry. Okay.
So Claire Ben is an artist. Does anybody know Claire Ben? Have you ever heard of her? Yeah. So Holly and I would go to Wales to her exhibition in the Ruthin Centre. If anyone ever wants to go to a great place and do a course and see and try and tie it in with an exhibition. It is probably one of the, I mean, England, Wales, Scotland, full of amazing venues, far more than we have here, the fibre textiles. But the Rupert Centre is the best place I've ever seen, and the classes there are incredible. You get the boat over and hire a car, 60 kilometres. Rupert Centre is very close, but they have you pass by. The gallery looks like a large shed. It's very plain building. You wouldn't really take much. It is an incredible space, and they have incredible artists. We went to a great exhibition there on resources and Ori and then sources, and it was all sustainability. It was just incredible. I've never seen an exhibition like it, and Claire Ben was there. So when we were on holidays last year, we decided, so she uses a technique where she makes her own soya milk and she treats all fabrics with it. It's a great process, making your own soya milk. I thought, but actually it's not that difficult. It's really not making soya milk. And you can treat, so it changes the fabric and it changes the texture of fabric, and it makes it kind of like weatherproof and stuff. So make your own soya milk, and I think I have at home layers how much you put into it, whatever else, and I'll give it to you. I can't put it up on the website because it's her thing, but I'll give it to anybody who wants it. And I now treat a lot of my linens and so if I made something in linen, I'll do a wash with soya milk, and you do 2-3 washes, and it gives a lovely texture. So it goes from, this was a piece of linen. So we did, I did this based on Claire's technique, and it's natural dyeing. It's a mineral dye. So the minerals fall down to the center. So you put 2 and 3 layers of the fabrics. So the actual 3rd layer is the one that captures most of the color. So I just put some cheap doilies, and I dyed them and put them as resist to get the marks. I also did a lovely one where I got a lot of seaweed and stuff, and put the seaweed at the top, and then the mineral came through it and down to the end. So you have 3 pieces with 3 different types. I like it. It's using natural mineral dyes are very interesting, and I painted that about 3 or 4 times with soya milk. And what that does, it treats the fabric and allows the fabric to be handled. Because otherwise you're working with linen, it's quite porous and it moves. Whereas, so I like what soya milk does, it's really good.
Does it leave any smell?
No, funny it doesn't, you would think that, but no, it doesn't, no. Yeah. Yeah, it's really good.
Can you use commercials on,
No.
We have a soy milk maker to make soy milk because my son's vegan, although he doesn't really drink it, but it's from America, but it's very easy. I mean, I don't usually do it. My husband does it. It's very easy. You have to soak the soybeans and then you just, well, it whirs it and everything. And then you have to strain it if you want it smooth. Yeah. I saw that, and it's only less than 60, I think. I can take a picture for my husband. Yeah, I saw it.
But this is muslin.
Yeah.
Your muslin to absorb and squeeze it and whatever. It's about it's just about the measurements really. That's the most important thing. How much water you're putting in and how much beans and that. And so you can do lots of different marks on it. This is base 3, and I did that with a blue natural earth pigment. So earth pigments are really interesting. It's a nice way to go, but you never know exactly what you're going to get with earth pigments. And And it's quite hard to get those blues. They're kind of expensive too.
Is it
And this came from
indigo or,
France.
it's not indigo, it's another, the blue. What is the blue from? Sorry,
It's
woad? Is it from woad?
I don't know. I
Something,
can't remember exactly what this blue is from, but
it's beautiful.
they're earth pigments, yeah.
Linen also,
It's all linen, yeah, yeah, yeah. I only use the fabrics I have, so I have lots of linen at home, so I'm using that, and I was gifted some linen. And that's it, I'm going to treat this, this is just heavy cotton. And, at the moment, I'm just dyeing, painting pieces of fabric, and then appliquing it on. What I like to do now is I like to take pieces of fabric and dye them and work on them. And then leave them for a while in all different colors. Or variables of the same color. And then take something else and then paint and mess around with it, not be too serious about shapes. At the moment, it's kind of more nature, and then cut them out and applique them on. It's just a bit of fun. I don't know where it's going.
It's the yellow added in there. The
The yellow is paint. It's painted, yeah. So this part is painted onto this part that is dyed.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see some lines in there, and we just worry that and then hide it. So it's just interesting, you know.
Would you just like to have a picture per se, or would you make it like a
I don't know what it's
pen
going to
cover, could be.
be. I don't know what it's going to be.
Exactly.
It might be part of the wearable.
And sorry, what's the paint?
So this is mineral with layer with wax. This is actually wax. So I've soy wax on this, and it just gives it more. The wax tends to give it a little bit of depth and strength. And prior to putting the wax onto it, this is matte medium with some acrylic and just yeah. Right. Well, it's just a different, it's playing. Sometimes I find, you know, when you don't know what you want to do, if you just take out paintbrushes, paint, whatever you're working on, just leave it all there and just keep playing. And look, nothing might come from any of this. I have so much cut out, so much, but it's there, you know, and I'll wake up some morning and it'll all make sense, you know. A process led, somebody who is a process led is, they're not worried about the end. I never worry about the end. Sometimes the end isn't actually, doesn't mean anything. Sometimes the making and the middle bit are the exciting part. Yeah, the end isn't always.
It could be, if you don't be the centerpiece in the upholstery, maybe at the back of the chair or something like that.
It could be sitting on a chair, it could be underneath the chair, it could be in the duster, it could be anywhere, it could be buried, exactly. You're not gonna be,
The tree and the board are painted on, you know what you're saying?
yes. And I'm working on birds at the moment, so I've taken birds, which is crow, and a lot of my recent work is working on that shadow and crow. So that's it. Is there anybody who wants to talk about what's happening themselves, or rather than me talking all the time? Is there anything anyone wants to talk about other than, have I missed anything? I don't know. Maybe.
Questions?
That's interesting how you say that, you know, the process, I think that's what puts people off is that you want to have something at the end of it.
Sometimes there's nothing at the
You
end.
know,
And actually, that's a really good one. I actually don't worry about the end anymore, because the end, what is it anyway? I mean, I remember being with Christine and we were in Hungary, and I remember we were tired and I don't know what we're doing. And Christine pulled out of her bag. She didn't know what she was at either, but we had both left what we were meant to be doing, and we were both kind of like outsiders standing at the back. And she pulled out of her bag squares of silk, and they were all in charcoal greys and kind of very muted tones and stuff. Normally what I wouldn't get excited about. And she had a little bit of mustard in there as well. And she started laying them down on a fine piece. She just laid out some 2 layers of fine merino, and she started to place them down. And it was the nicest, for the whole weekend, it was probably the one thing, and it still sits in my mind of what it ended up being. It was so beautiful. So we didn't, sometimes if you overthink it, sometimes if it's like forcing yourself to do something and it just isn't, you can't get there. Doesn't need it. And start something you enjoy and come back in. And if you can't do that, maybe you're not meant to be doing it. Do you know what I mean? If it's that hard. Now I have continued to work on something, I forced myself, and it has come through in the end. But it's not always what's nice if you're forcing yourself, because then you don't enjoy it when it's done. You're like, really? All that work?
I think what you said about the kind of collegiality of, you know, making together or doing workshops.
Yeah.
And because if you were having that experience at home or trying to do it following an online workshop, I would give up much sooner.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, when you were talking about the boot workshop, I was reliving the jackets. And that was one of the most trauma-laden workshops I had ever been to. And I'm outside after it's all over and a jacket in pieces. And Holly's husband very kindly said, "How are you doing?" And I burst into tears. It only took one word and I was just gone.
Yeah.
Because it was so traumatic.
People
Now,
don't realise.
I did finish the jacket, but I wouldn't have finished it only for, there was several of us left in the same way and we were on the phone all week
Encouraging
each other.
Keep going.
And I always remember Holly saying, "I'm outside with the sander."
Oh, right, on the sander.
Yeah, we got very aggressive and she was still using plastic with the sander. I had given up on the
What happens
plastic.
is just, I don't want to put you all off, but people can get very aggressive when you've got a very large piece of something small.
But it was that whole group dynamic and how you get inspired or, you know, given the freedom from the group, because somebody, like I can remember when you were doing the bag and it wasn't me, it's you, but you were kind of, it was almost like someone else gave you the permission, go on, go for it.
I went outside and just thought I was going, you know, when you just have had enough and you just need to take a break. And it was just that feeling, it was lovely to be able to just enjoy what I was doing, because I was trying too hard and it wasn't working, doing what I was meant to be doing. And if it's not working, and just take a step back and do something else. I mean, there's no rules.
Sorry, no, sorry, it was another subject I was,
Yeah.
thought you were finished, sorry.
Of course.
No, I was just wondering, is there something like 2024, is there something you're working on? Do you put stuff in for exhibitions, or are you going to any fairs abroad, or are you doing any courses, or?
Yeah. Thanks, Sarah. I don't do fairs anymore. I'm getting too old for it. I find myself,
No, I mean, like, you know, there's one in France coming up.
Yeah.
Not to sell at, just to
Yeah,
go
so-
for fun.
To go for fun. Oh, absolutely. I think any course is just invaluable. And what we're doing at the moment is we're working with a tutor from Ballyfermot who is working with Elaine Co. And she has gifted us some beautiful fibres that she is not using for part of her current work. And it's just like, oh my God, it's just amazing. The problem is they're so amazing. I can't do anything with them. I'm kind of looking at them kind of going. So I don't know what I'm going to do with that yet, but they're just sitting there. We have an exhibition coming up in Dublin Castle in September. I'm a bit scared about it because it always feels like you always get scared when it's something kind of big. But I'm working on a wall piece and it's not felt, it's fabric. And it probably, I mean, to be honest with you, the more I think about it, the more I hate it. And this is what happens to me. If I make something early, I hate it. Because I'm left with it for too long and then thinking it's not good enough. I don't like it. Oh my God, oh my God. All the excitement has now left me and now I look at it and I go, no. A friend of mine that I trust, she came over and she went, "Oh, that's fantastic." I thought, is it though? Is it? I'm even doubting her now. It's like nobody can tell me it's good. So I'm working on that, and crow is that crow is in there. And but what else I do, I don't know. I definitely will be making a felt piece for that. So I suppose the difficulty is I'm working 3 days and it is hard to fit it all in because you've got life as well as that. And you have commitments, you know, and my family are there, so it's family down there and all that kind of stuff. But I always think where there's a will, there's a way. You know, you just have to have the making process. But if you say, I'm gonna wait until I've loads of time, and then I'm gonna do it, then you'll have a sore leg or a sore knee, or you'll have a toothache like I currently have, or something will happen, and life happens, it doesn't get kind of left. You just do it, don't wait for tomorrow, just do it. So, you know, you get off and you're not feeling it, go for a cup of coffee and come back, but then start something. So I've made a commitment to myself in answer to your question, that I am going, like, I've done a lot of courses. When Feltmakers, the original Feltmakers were, when I was in the original Feltmakers kind of an active helper committee, I think I was doing 2, maybe sometimes 3 master classes a year. I mean, you get to a point where you say to yourself, I've actually done an awful lot of work. I'm not quite sure if I need to keep learning. But what I do like about the master classes or tutors, or being part of a working group or a play group, whatever you want to call it, I learn. Like, I remember kind of feeling a bit saturated once. I got over to the studio, when we had the studio, and I remember Holly was sitting there. And it was maybe a workshop, I admit, I don't know. And she was making, everyone was kind of playing. And I said, what are you doing? And she said, oh, I'm just playing. I said, no, what are you doing? Like, I was like, what is she doing? So what she had done was she had got 3 or 4 layers. She was making samples. She had 3 or 4 layers of fiber, all one color, white, and she was just making circles. So she'd made a pre-felt and she cut them into circles. So a large circle, slightly smaller, and slightly smaller, and she put it on the top and then laid some fiber over it. So you have these circular bumps. And now I'm thinking, oh my God, if I had the embellisher or if I had my sewing machine, I could do a line around that and it would pop. Oh my God, that's amazing. That is genius. Why did I not think of that? It was so simple, but so amazing. So when you get together, that's what happens. You know,
What's an embellisher?
so an embellisher is it's like a sewing machine that has needles that does. So you can actually lay layers of different fabrics, something like, so synthetic fabrics that you might have at home. And you lay it down on top of your belt or whatever, and you can create a different fabric. So it just looks more interesting. A lot of textile artists and makers will use an embellisher.
I think that's an attachment you put on the machine.
It can be. Some of your machines will have it, yeah, you can put different hooks, different feet on the machine. Different hooks.
You can kind of do it with a needle person.
Yeah.
But it acts more quickly and you can move it. It's the same as a sewing machine, but you can then move the belt and you have to behave like as if you're using a sewing machine in that, you know, it's guiding it, but it gives you an amazing effect.
Oh, yeah, it's incredible.
And the needles are expensive, so you have to mind, like it's a bit like sewing machine, they could break quite easily, so you usually.
That's the dry down to minutes.
No, as a sewing machine needle, if somebody starts yanking,
Yeah.
they'll break, you know.
But when you're doing the hand, is that with the dry down to minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is anybody else here doing something interesting that you could share?
Hi, just dreaming.
Oh, God.
I want to work. No, it went melting.
Yeah.
But I'm really only starting, I thought.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure Feltmakers will be having a play session or a making session. I mean,
Annika?
the thing is, I suppose, the only way to kind of improve learning is to read this group and watch other people make, you know, and start with laying down fibers, then knowing what it is, how many layers you want, and all that kind of stuff. It really was fascinating. The main goal is that you know.
It'll be all around helping you get organised for our exhibition this year, which will be in May. So in March, we'll have somebody showing you how to take photographs to put in for your application. we can have somebody talking about the actual application form. I'll be doing a mind map of how to get your ideas together and that, and what you can do for the exhibition. And then we have somebody doing framing. What's the best way to mount your piece professionally, and framing and that. So that would be in March, and the exhibition will be in May. So the details will, you'll be going out in the next week or so.
And the
But,
theme is?
Annika, do you want to say something about the next?
Do you want to say the theme first? Or the exhibition? We'll let Annika say it.
Opposites attract.
Right.
Opposites attract.
And I would,
Very good.
don't go, Elaine, because people, thank you, Elaine. People want to look at your work, so they want to stand up and look at your work. I'm sure. Oh, you're leaving. Don't leave. And I want to film it.
So any questions I'm around?
That was fabulous. Next month, we won't have an ordinary Sunday session. We will have an experimental class new for this year, which is going to focus on wet felting techniques. And the origin for the idea of this actually came from the wool project. As part of the samples we made for the wool projects, we made a vessel with each breed. And most of our vessels were rough and ready. We had somebody who wanted to contribute to the project from the US. So we sent her 5 grams of each breed. And she sent us back these vessels. And they were amazing.
Wow.
They were fine, they were dense, they were just a world away from pretty much all our vessels, except Lake's possibly. But even Lake wasn't actually even the same. So I spent ages going, I thought I was pretty hot felting. I couldn't make these vessels. And that was bugging me. I tried to make 5 gram vessels, but I tried to make 5 of them at a time. And basically they came out like lumps with a bit of an indent. They were not good. So this was sort of bugging me because, yeah, I wanted to know how to do it. And a couple of months ago, I got some lovely local wool that was really finely processed. And I made a really small vessel, and I kind of just thought about it, and I just spent ages rubbing it. I didn't try rolling it, I didn't try getting to the end. Because also, I'd heard this, don't start pulling till it's felted. And I'd actually asked lots of people, what does this mean? When do you know? And I hadn't gotten a real good answer, but I went, okay, I'm just not going to pull it at all. I'm just going to rub it, and actually made the finest little vessel I'd ever made. And this was just amazing. So from this, I felt my felting improved a lot, and I wanted to share it with you. So we're going to have a quite extensive class next month, and we're going to do a square sample, and this is 10 grams wool. Now, we're going to have this course geared for beginners. You can use more than 10 grams, but for those who want to improve and want to challenge themselves, we say stick to the 10 grams. And this is 10 grams shrunk 30%, 10 grams shrunk 40%, 10 grams shrunk, or it might be, well, anyway, this is probably 50%, that's 50% shrunk, and that's 60% shrunk. So we're going to make one of these samples, have the workshop next month, and you can choose how far you want to shrink it, or time will choose for you, and you can keep going at home if you want to. So this is the same layout, same weight of wool, just shrunk differently. So that's what we're going to do. And then we're going to use the careful layout the long rubbing and kind of waiting the fulling till you're kind of really frustrated. And we're gonna use it to make the finest little vessel that we've ever made. So,
10 grams.
this is also 10 grams. So this piece starts out with a 10-inch template. We're using inches because it makes maths a lot easier to figure out the shrinkage. And then, because we're metric, this is gonna be laid out around a 20 centimeter resist. 10 grams of wool. But for beginners, the 10 grams is not necessary, and we'll have lots of support and people helping you out. But this is gonna be technical. So it's much more about spending a day doing it really carefully. You might not like to do that at home or with your normal felting, but if you do this for one day, it'll give you ideas and you can decide not to do it in the future from a much better standpoint. So that's what we're gonna do.
It's lovely.
So we are starting at 10:30. And we have 2.5 hours to make this sample and 2.5 hours to make this sample. And we really want to encourage as many members as possible to do this, so we keep the course really cheap. So it's only going to be €24.
Oh, that's great. And you buy all the requirement.
We supply everything, except towel and bowl. And if you don't want to do this, you can come and just have coffee, ask for an ordinary Sunday session.